for returning for another episode. A lot of different things have been going on. I know everybody's watching the market thinking to themselves, wow, isn't those numbers low? Yes, they are. They really are low. But it's not the end yet. It's definitely not the end yet. So I want to go ahead and talk about a few different things that I've noticed that I'm paying attention to. So we're going to check out a few articles and a little bit of information, and we're going to, just kind of brew on that. Maybe we get an idea of what's possibly coming down the road. So, just diving right in. There's an article, Bitcoin.com, says Russia and Cuba eye cryptocurrencies for settlements amid sanctions. Right. So, hey, Russia's having issues with the United States, right? Of course. And those sanctions are trying to slow them up. That's why they're doing what they're doing with their petroleum and their natural resources. So I wonder why. And we already know Cuba. The United States just doesn't even, just got them in gridlock. Cuba is stuck in like wow, they're stuck in the 50s. I would say. I mean, that place is hurting, right? So only makes sense. Bypass all these sanctions with cryptocurrencies. But let's see what that article has to say. Goes on to say the governments of Russia and Cuba are considering the use of Russian rubles and cryptocurrencies to facilitate bilateral cooperation against the backdrop of sanctions imposed on both nations. The news comes from a statement made by Boris Titov, Commissioner for Entrepreneurs' Rights under the Russian president, who visited Havana, Cuba, that is. Russia's business ombudsman arrived in the Cuban capital during the 38th edition of the Havana International Fair. Quote, all of us, Cuba and Russia, are under sanctions. The dollar turnover is the main financial mechanism that exists in the world for mutual settlements. But today, mechanisms are being developed at the level of national governments to change the situation, Titov told the news agency. So, I mean, that's something to brew on now, isn't it? We do understand that the United States dollar has dominated and been ruling over people and using sanctions to, do what it does. So it only makes sense that here we see that these nations and countries are learning to do business without the United States dollar. What does that mean? Well, it means they're going to use a crypto or cryptos that benefit them via use. So we could possibly see coming in the future maybe more use for ISO, right? Maybe more use for currencies that are very cheap to use and transfer money. Maybe we'll see for, on-demand liquidity settlements, instantaneous settlements of payments. I don't know. Just sharing my thoughts and ideas. You guys get in the comment section. Let me know. We've got an article here. Another one that says, Combank announces migration to XRP standard starting November, right? So in November this happened. It says Combank to begin using XRP, the standard, following Ripple. Australia's largest financial conglomerate, Combank, also called the CBA, has announced today, at that day, November 17, 2022, that it will begin migrating cross-border payments to the ISO 20022 standard in the month of November. According to its latest tweets, Combank will transition all its payments to the advanced standard by November 2025. So by November of 2025, they intend to have all their transactions moving that way, right, through the ISO system, the new messaging system that Swift is using. Goes on to say Combank unveiled its new ISO plans while responding to a comment by a Twitter user requesting updates about the ISO 20022. The Australian banking giant tweeted, quote, hi there. From November 2022, cross-border payments will start to migrate to ISO 20022. With all payments to be made and received using ISO 20022 by November 2025. Cross-border payments will be greatly simplified as a result. Interesting, right? Interesting. And it only makes sense that when you look at what's going on in Russia and Cuba, they would probably be on the same boat, wouldn't you imagine? I'd imagine. That's what I'm thinking. It goes on to say ISO 20022 is an international standard for exchange electronic messaging between financial institutions. Yeah, that's right. First introduced in 2004, ISO 20022 was created to give the financial industry a common platform for developing messages using a molding methodology, a central dictionary, and a set of XML and ASN. So, yeah, technical stuff there, obviously, but the main point, it's a messaging system that allows the transaction to be conducted so money can move over the internet. That's pretty much it, and it's fast and it's efficient, and yeah, it's cool. All right, it goes on. Due to the benefits of the ISO, it is predicted that in the coming years, banks will globally migrate from legacy SWIFT MT financial messaging to the highly structured and data-rich ISO 20022 standard. The flexible framework provides an internationally agreed business message syntax and semantics. It also enables communities and message developers to use the same message structure form and meaning to relay financial transaction information worldwide. So it makes it easier for all these banks to basically move money around in a coded language that's just easy. That's it. It's just simplifying everything, making it, yeah, it's ISO, making everything easy, making it cheap. Nobody has to rely on the next person. Nobody has to really trust the next person. It just gets it done. So yeah, okay. More and more will be coming on board. Just if you're nervous and worried, just fall back. Let everything do what it do. Just relax. Kick your feet up, put your hands behind the back of your head. Just kick that chair back and relax for a little bit. Because these things are going down no matter what. Right? It's going down no matter what. All right, we got some more. We got a tweet here. It says, let me see. This is Mr. CHOC, Chalk. Mr. Chalk, I guess. So they shared this. It says, rest in peace, Coinbase. Insider here, Coinbase has lost 6,000 Bitcoin since it started to do mismanagement and not understanding how to survive a bear market. They are scrambling to raise capital and will fail. You will see them announce this shortly. Grayscale has already started damage control via Twitter over the weekend. Right, so I don't know. We're seeing all these other exchanges take hits. I mean, I guess, somebody could possibly... I haven't seen anything else other than this tweet, so I haven't seen anything to even, back this tweet up. It's just a tweet. And people post tweets all the time. People say crazy things all the time. So when you see stuff like this, you got to kind of look around and see if there's anything out there to validate this. And I don't really see anything to validate this. I just kind of see it as a tweet. And again, you'll see plenty of tweets to show up like this, and don't let that discourage you. Now, yes, money's moving off of Coinbase, good amounts, but I mean, who would really store their money on an exchange? It's just like leaving your money in that bank, and 9/10 of the law's possession, and the bank can mysteriously lose money, right? Especially if you don't have an FDIC protected bank. You'll just lose money. So, I mean, nothing new there, nothing crazy, but I just really haven't seen anything to validate that, so I don't know. If you guys see anything, post in the comments. Post your comments below. That's all I got. I'm going to close this little video running in the back. Check it out. And, drop your comments. I'll catch you all in the next episode.
Mr. President, I rise again, I'm afraid, to make the same old hoary speech that I've been making here for several years. And that is, it is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal, and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. and yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money, and yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.